September 26th, 1983. It was the height of the Cold War, deep beneath the forests of Moscow, inside the Serpukhov 15 bunker. The air was stagnant. It smelled of ozone and cheap tobacco. Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov was settling into his shift, expecting the usual silence of a Soviet midnight. Then at 12:26 a.m., the screen turned red. One missile detected. A Minuteman III launched from the American heartland. Predicted impact, 18 minutes. Petrov had been trained for this. He knew the protocol. He knew the red button on his desk wasn't just a button. It was the firing pin for 11,000 nuclear warheads. But then the system updated. Second missile, third, fourth, fifth. The computer was no longer suggesting a strike. It was confirming one. According to the OCO satellite system, the United States had just ended the world. But as Petrov stared at the flashing Cyrillic text, he noticed something that didn't make sense. Something the machine had missed. He had 5 minutes to decide if he was a witness to the apocalypse or a glitch in the code. To understand why the machine failed, we have to leave the bunker and climb 22,000 miles. This is OCO, the Soviet Union's eye in the sky, a constellation of satellites designed with a single paranoid purpose: to spot the infrared heat of an American missile launch before it even clears the silo. On the night of September 26th, the system was looking for a very specific signature, a heat plume against the cold, dark background of the Earth. But the universe is full of light. And on this specific night, the laws of orbital mechanics were about to play a deadly trick. As the sun hit a high-altitude cloud bank at just the right angle, it created a glint, a reflection so bright and so concentrated that it mimicked the exact thermal profile of a Minuteman III rocket motor. To the satellite's sensors, it wasn't a reflection. It was a launch. And as the Earth rotated, the sun caught the clouds 4 more times. The machine wasn't hallucinating. It was seeing exactly what it was programmed to see. It just didn't know the difference between the sun and the end of the world. While the laws of physics were playing tricks in orbit, the clock in the bunker was indifferent. It was 12:34 a.m. According to the machine, the first American warhead would incinerate Moscow in exactly 10 minutes. Around Petrov, the bunker had transformed into a theater of the absurd. Men who had spent decades training for this moment were now frozen by it. In the 3D logic of the Soviet military, the computer was God, and God was saying the world was over. Protocol demanded that Petrov pick up the direct line to the Kremlin to alert the General Secretary, to initiate the retaliation sequence that would launch thousands of missiles back across the Atlantic. If he followed his training, billions would die. If he ignored it, and he was wrong, his own country would vanish without a single shot fired in return. This is the 10-minute paradox. Petrov holds the fate of every living soul in a silent, sweating hand. Petrov looked at the confirmed status on his screen. Then he looked at the phone. He didn't see a weapon. He saw a choice. The missiles never came. The 12:44 a.m. deadline passed in total terrifying silence. But Petrov's choice wasn't just a hunch, it was a calculation. While the satellite OCO was screaming for war, Petrov was looking for a second opinion. He looked to the horizon, to the Duga Radar, a massive steel lattice of antennas designed to bounce radio waves off the ionosphere. If 5 Minuteman missiles were truly in the air, the Duga would have seen their ionized trails. The space eye and the ground ear were in a direct conflict. Petrov chose to believe the silence of the Earth over the panic of the stars. Stanislav Petrov had saved the world by doing nothing. But the Soviet Union saw nothing as a crime. He wasn't given a medal. He was interrogated for hours. Not for his decision, but for his paperwork. In the heat of a nuclear alert, he had failed to fill out the unit's logbook according to protocol. The system could not forgive him for being right when the machine was wrong. He was forced into early retirement, vanishing into a small gray apartment on the edge of Moscow. For 10 years, he lived on a pension that barely bought bread. He heated his tea on a rusted stove while the billions of people he saved went about their lives. It wasn't until 1998 that his story was declassified. The man who saved the world was finally found, surrounded by stacks of old newspapers in a cramped, dusty room. Stanislav Petrov passed away in 2017. He didn't want a monument. He just wanted us to remember. Sometimes the most important thing a human can do is refuse to obey the machine.